Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, today I'm casting a special 1v1 show match between Klavskis and AkeNoHimejimaaa, two very high-rated Aoe2 HD players. I don't normally take show match requests, and I don't have a good excuse for why I'm doing this one, but we're going to assume that this game will be awesome, because both of these players are of a very high skill level. Klavskis is approximately 2,300 ELO on HD, and AkeNo, I'm just going to call him, is 2K. During this game, I'll be giving you all my commentary on their strategy choices, and of course the Incas civilization overall, as I figured that this is a really interesting civ to watch, although we're probably just going to see some Men-at-Arms Tower Rush action, of which I'm also excited to see. So without further ado, let's get this game started and learn some of the core concepts of Age of Empires 2. This is part of my weekly Twitch TV live streams. If you want to get in on this, you can find a link to my live streaming schedule on my Twitch page by scrolling underneath the video player there. And if you follow me on Facebook and Twitter, you'll get updates on when I'm streaming next. Links to other expert games in the video description below, as well as tutorials. Alright, let's do this. Incas civilization matchup between the Incas. Incas versus Incas. The Incas have the following bonuses. They get a free llama. Houses are worth 10 population instead of 5, and their buildings cost 15% less stone. These are all fairly powerful economic bonuses that I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. They also have another bonus, which is that their villagers are affected by blacksmith upgrades. I'm going to talk about this one first, since this is, generally speaking, their simplest bonus. The idea with the... Sorry about that noise in the background, my neighbor's taking a shower. Nothing I can do about that. Just need more subscribers so I can move to a better apartment building. Jeez. So the villagers affected by blacksmith upgrades means that their tower rush is super strong. This is also in combination with the buildings cost minus 15% stone. Don't worry, his shower will stop soon. He can't shower for 20 minutes. Unless he wants to look like a prune. So they have a very strong Men-at-Arms Tower Rush. So the general idea is you get to the Feudal Age really quickly, you bring some of your villagers forward, and the extra blacksmith upgrades on your villagers makes them really strong in an early game engagement, specifically with Loom as well, and then the reduced cost on watchtowers. So that's generally the most dominant strategy that we see for the Incas, and it defines them as a civilization. They also have a fairly consistent early game, because if you don't find your sheep, or in this case goats, immediately, then you always do start with that llama, which is a great... It actually has better line of sight than a sheep, so it's actually a fairly good scout. But you can also just start gathering food from it immediately, and that really adds up, as generally, sometimes people's openings can be a little bit inconsistent, and the Incas are extremely consistent. So that's a great bonus that helps make sure that they have a strong start, to then transition into a fairly standard Men-at-Arms Tower Rush. Houses being worth plus 10 population saves you a reasonable amount of wood over the course of a game, but it's not a huge bonus, it's just a nice little extra thing. And of course their farms are built 50% faster, which is their team bonus. That has effectively no difference really in their economy. It's an extremely weak bonus because farms already build very quickly. It helps a bit, but it's really not that significant. So overall, where does this put the Incas in the tier list? And it puts them, somewhere in the middle, upper middle area. They have a decent economy. They have a bunch of very tiny economic bonuses, but militarily, they're a really fascinating civilization, and they're one that I'm going to play on stream again at some point in Massive some Kameyuks. The Incas, I believe, are just a fundamentally misunderstood civilization. Players either think that they're like super unplayably bad, or they don't understand the usage of their unique unit, their Eagle Warriors, etc. They're a really well-designed civ. So one of the things I wanted to talk about during the opening is the Elite Kameyuk unit. So I don't think you should directly be comparing it to a champion. While it has a similar cost of 60 food and 30 gold, they create super quickly, and the fact that they have +1 range means that they're actually fairly good versus infantry, even though the 8 attack compared to like a 13 of a champion, you'd think that they'd be terrible versus infantry units. Being able to get the first shot off and focus fire down cavalry units actually makes the Kameyuk fairly good versus just melee units in general, and of course they have a huge attack bonus versus cavalry. Think of them as halberdiers with 1 range, and the more you play with the Incas, the more you start to realize that both of their unique units, the Kameyuk and the Slinger, have plenty of realistic applications. For starters, the Slinger has very similar stats to an Arbalest, in that they have the exact same speed, reload time, accuracy, etc., but they have more armor with the Courier's technology in the late game. That additional 2 armor is pretty sick. They have 1 less attack. I think the most important thing, though, is the difference in resource cost. The 30 food, 40 gold makes it a little harder to leverage that in the Castle Age compared to something like Crossbowmen, even though they have much better stats than Crossbowman does in the Castle Age with the extra HP and whatnot. Plus 10 attack versus infantry is the exact same bonus that hand cannoneers get. They also get an additional +1 versus spearmen. The slinger is a great unit that actually doesn't need an elite upgrade to be strong. They're similar to an arbalest and something that you should consider mixing into your army. If this game goes late, which I don't know if it will, because it's probably going to be a Men-at-Arms Tower Rush fiesta, then Slinger should definitely be on the table. Their Eagle Warriors as well for the Incas are pretty great. The Courier's technology got changed to give +1 Dura Armor and +2 Pierce Armor, which makes them very, very bulky in the late game. I would say that in general they're not as good as, for example, the Mayans Eagle Warriors, but there's still something to consider, and the huge value in the Courier's technology is that it also applies to Kameyuks, making them super bulky. The Kameyuk would be a much worse unit without Couriers, and it also applies to their Slingers, again making them bulkier. The Incas are a civilization with a devastating, slow-push deathball late game, coupled with the fact that they have siege engineers, onagers, and just a decent siege line in general. I love this civilization. They're really just good in general. But now that we're getting to the barracks point of the game, the action is about to start. Let's talk a little bit about the strategy. And one moment, it looks like I got a new subscriber. Thank you, Taco Master, for the 11-month resub. Really appreciate it. Sorry about the showering, man. There's absolutely nothing I can do about that. Is this villager gonna die? Because there's no loom. Klavskis noticing that he didn't get the killing blow, and he is gonna lose his scout, and the shower is over. Whew. Sorry about that. There's really nothing I can do about that. He was showering right when the stream started, decided to stop the shower and wait for me to start recording. I don't know. That's just how my life is now. Okay, so, what a shocker. Men-at-Arms Tower Rush probably coming out from AkeNo. We'll have to see. In the early game, I didn't really mention this because I talk about it a lot, which is the first few minutes of the game are always spent primarily focusing on food and wood resources, setting an economic foundation for the rest of the game. But if you want to learn more about an effective build order in Age of Empires 2 and get started online, then you want to watch my Night Rush tutorial first, rather than this one. But if you want to see some hot Incas on Incas action, you're in the right place. Here comes the 3 Militia Drush. Will AkeNo be transitioning into a Men-at-Arms Tower Rush? That is the question. So there's nothing that makes this Drush particularly insane from the Incas. Again, they have a more consistent start. You may have noticed that AkeNo actually did mine 10 gold long distance without building a mining camp, I believe, just so that, that way he could actually build 3 militia, because he's going to have 50 gold left over after researching loom, and you start with 100, so it's just a little fun fact. And it's important that you don't build a mining camp there, otherwise you're crippling your economy. So it looks like AkeNo is not going for a super standard Men-at-Arms Tower Rush, or at least he hasn't shown that yet. Whereas Klavskis, well, it's not clear what he's going for either, but no player has any villagers on stone, and AkeNo with a very delayed Feudal Age due to the 3 Militia Drush. Yes, the video is now finally watchable now that the shower has stopped. Thank you, Milmano fan. Welcome to the stream. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it'd be great if more people would check out the ResQuote subreddit. So that's reddit.com/r/resquotes. So Klavskis, he's got 2 defensive militia. I'm assuming that this is going to be... I actually wonder if he's going to get the Men-at-Arms upgrade. AkeNo can advance now. He actually hasn't started yet, but he's going to rather shortly. Nope. Okay, so Klavskis is not going for the Men-at-Arms upgrade. Looks like he's just going for a... Okay, so fairly standard double archer range Feudal Age opening. I think this is fine. The Incas, again, there's nothing particularly special about the Incas' double range archery, but in the Feudal Age and the Dark Age, civilizations are relatively similar to each other, so you don't necessarily need a strong bonus to make one of these strategies worthwhile. Now, sometimes you're going to have to archer rush as the Spanish, and that sucks, but, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. As long as you're prepared to transition away from that, because they don't get crossbows. So it looks like Klavski's opting not to defend himself, instead move forward. Okay, he's going to start plopping out the archers. He thinks his villagers are capable of defending themselves here with them, and he might be right. One of the more interesting dynamics in Age of Empires 2 is that you don't need to kill any units in the early game to actually make your rush viable and do significant damage to someone's economy, but rather you just need to force their villagers to fight you. And by doing that, they're not gathering any resources, and therefore you're doing some eco damage. So let's go swap back to AkeNo's perspective. He's on his way up to Feudal, but his Feudal is a little bit slow. Again, just because he went for the militia just earlier than Klavskis did. But AkeNo has a very high amount of villagers in comparison. I believe he's at 28 population. Looks like he's actually going to try and fast Castle Age off this. The Dark Age Rush, the Drush as we call it, is a very solid transition into a fast castle build, because what it does is it creates space. Ooh, nice quick walling by AkeNo, funneling these militia underneath that town center. Klavskis going to take a lot of free shots here. Great play by AkeNo. Very, very good control. And Klavskis, not born yesterday, not with those wrinkles, will pull out, not losing his entire army. Very, very critical decision on his part. I think it would have been a bad idea if he ended up staying there and losing his entire army. So yes, the Drush Fast Castle creates space for you to go for an otherwise relatively greedy build that only the Legend Doubt and our Break the Meta series, which you find a playlist for in the description below, ever has the balls to go for as a naked fast castle age without applying any pressure in the early game. Hopefully the Drush keeps your opponent distracted long enough that it delays any sort of feudal age aggression and allows you to get to the castle age without really dying. Because it's a greedy build. You're forfeiting so much early game pressure, so you need to kind of buy time till about 17 minutes in the game if you want to survive. Well, he's pulling the militia back. It's a very interesting play by AkeNo. Sending in the Eagle Scout, though, without the rest of the militia will be disastrous, but I like the choice to build this watchtower. I think he kind of has to. I think he was just trying to distract those archers so you can get the watchtower up. This will not be a Titanic. He will do it successfully. Well played, AkeNo. And what this is going to do is this now forces Klavskis to pull back all of his units. He can no longer bust down this wall. Now he has to fight these militia directly. Good pick-off there with the militia. Great control by AkeNo and Klavskis as well. It's just nice to see some highly rated Age of Empires 2 action where we can learn a lot from their strategy. AkeNo needs to be conservative with his militia. Look at the great control on him, by the way, making sure that he keeps both of them alive until he gets sniped by spreading out the damage across them equally. However, no militia lives forever, my friends, and now Klavskis' goal is to do as much damage as humanly possible while the Castle Age starts researching. AkeNo timed this pretty well. He's able to start researching it now, but right now he's distracted, trying to do a million different things at once and needs to start advancing pronto. Cavalry King says, "Hi Rez, love your teaching and commentary. Welcome to the stream, Cavalry King. Thank you so much. And if I missed anyone's hellos or comments, let me know. I'll make sure to get back to you. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Good to see Mod 300 as well. So, AkeNo needs to start advancing to the Castle Age, but he's so distracted. Oh my goodness, are we going into Game 2, Incas Mirror Match? No, he's queuing up 2 more villagers. Wait a minute. Did he not build a blacksmith? No, he did. He is a blacksmith. What is going on, my friends? He's changed his mind. Indecision 2017. AkeNo. Are you sure? I mean, okay, so is this right to delay the Castle Age? So his logic here is that, oh shit, I'm dying. I need to do something about that right now. I think that the main reason that he's decided to not go to the Castle Age, which will cripple him, by the way, because of the way that he set up his economy, he's planning for this. He does not have the resources for a prolonged feudal war. He just does not have the eco. He has way too much food stockpiled and too much gold because he's going for the Fast Castle. I think he decided to delay the Fast Castle Age, or just forfeit it entirely, because he was worried that if he didn't start massing up skirms, which he's doing a great job picking off these archers, focus firing them down, then he'd be zoned off gold, thus defeating the entire purpose of fast castling in the first place. He wouldn't be able to make crossmen, he wouldn't be able to make eagle warriors, thus screwing him entirely. Great pickoff here from AkeNo. This is such a fascinating strategy choice. Very, very fascinating. See, this is why we got the new Twitch emotes. You don't need to use not like this anymore when you've got res fail. But is this a res fail, or is this res think? Is this... I don't know. I have to say, I'm impressed with this decision-making here from AkeNo. And Klavskis applying some just great pressure. I think that this game has been more going according to Klavskis' plan, and that he's just had a better game plan overall. AkeNo's been taking some big risks, but I think both of them have been adapting extremely, extremely well. AkeNo going for the mass skirms, forfeiting the fast castle. I think he has wheelbarrow already. That would be good if he did. Yeah, and he actually has fletching, and he has powder archer armor, so he's like super duper committed to this. This is fascinating. If he can get some solid damage off with these archers and skirms right now, he's actually in a very, very good position. But he's kind of gambling, going offensively with this, as now Klavskis is moving his army forward, so this is a huge... Ooh, this is going to be a really, really definitive point in the game. Klavskis has to pull back. Ah, this is great. It's a big gamble, you know, for AkeNo to actually move forward with his army. He's kind of banking on Klavskis feeling like he has to retreat, and that just takes some really good reading. And Klavskis isn't sure if he should retreat or not. Ah, absolute disaster. Poor Klavskis doesn't know if he should stay or he should go. Now, what determines whether or not you should retreat? It's really how effective you feel your static defenses are, and static defenses include how many military buildings you have at home, as well as things like walls, houses, the way your buildings are oriented, and watchtowers. Klavskis moving forward signals to me that he thinks this watchtower will be enough to defend him. However, it's not going to quite go up. It's so close. This is why fletching is so very important. This watchtower is at like 90%. Oh my god, and it might not go up. Meanwhile, Klavskis moving forward. There's another reason why he also decided to... The hesitation will cost him for sure, because it meant that his army did not arrive there in time. The other reason why he ended up deciding to go forward is because he probably felt like he couldn't beat this army, considering how hard skirmishers counter archers in the Feudal Age. Hopefully that makes sense. But now, AkeNo had to make the gamble of whether or not his static defense will be enough to defend him at home. And he has no watchtower on his gold mine, and he doesn't have enough units to take on this army. I don't think so. Meanwhile, though, the watchtower does go up, but not... You know, it was worthwhile for AkeNo to do this, and this is just shaping up to be an excellent aggressive game. This is shaping up to be an excellent aggressive game here, because Klavskis had a lot of idle time on his villagers, and no gold collected during that entire period will really slow him down. So, definitely worth it for AkeNo to do this, and now I would say AkeNo has more than enough military units to actually defend against this. What great decision-making here from both players! Ah, it's so refreshing to see players of such a good skill level actually duking it out. Isn't this fascinating? Deciding not to go to the Castle Age there. I think that's a decision that a lot of players would have had difficulty making, and we see here that it was the right decision for AkeNo to cancel that. I think that if he didn't, he probably would have been in deep trouble. However, we do see the weakness of this and the depth of Age of Empires 2 really showing itself. So for starters, Klavskis in the Castle Age, but before that, the hill advantage here will help him pick off these units. He's focused firing down the archers. Notice how he's doing that rather than wasting his damage on the skirmishers, which have 4 pierce armor. Very important that you do that. And when your opponent is making skirms, by the way, it's even more important that you have things like fletching, because otherwise that fletching you're doing only 1 damage a hit to the skirms, which is absolutely terrible. So, one of the interesting dynamics at play here is that AkeNo is slowing down his own Castle Age timing significantly by going for skirmishers, because it costs him a lot of food over time, and it requires him to just overinvest in farms, and by the time his food production catches up with itself, the guy who goes for archers is always going to get to the Castle Age first if you're going for skirms. So really, AkeNo was banking on doing a lot of economic damage to slow down Klavskis' own castle timing to try and even it out. But now AkeNo knows the game's transitioning into castle, he needs to get there too. That's why he's adjusting his economy. He's even starting to mine some stone, perhaps considering town centers. I'm assuming it's for another watchtower, though. The discounted watchtowers are really nice on the Incas, and their boom can be pretty solid with the slight discount on the TCs. It helps. So AkeNo has to basically strike a tough balance here between how many skirms he can commit to defense and then also just using that food to advance the Castle Age. He is starting to advance now, so I think that this is just shaping up to be an excellent game. I'm loving this one. If you've been enjoying this, please do leave a like and a comment below. I do read them all, as well as share this game around. I think that so far this has been an excellent example of decision making in Age of Empires 2, as well as just it's nice to see the Incas getting some play. They're not a bad civ. He's got a lone eagle scout in here. This is also a good choice. It could end up soaking up a lot of the crossbowman arrow fire and allowing the skirmishers to get off a few extra hits. So what Klavskis really wants to do right now is he wants to leverage that tech advantage by getting bodkin arrow and crossbowman's a huge standard power spike that's very meta-defining in Age of Empires 2, because the 2 upgrades are super cheap, and then you probably were incentivized to mass a bunch of archers in the Feudal Age, because it doesn't delay your Castle Age timing that much. Gotta watch out for the mangonel, though. This could be the entire end of the game if he doesn't react to this, but he, Fog of War. That's a terrible mangonel shot, though. Splits. His mangonel shot's not quite here. But still, Klavskis doesn't honestly have enough units. He doesn't have enough crossmen. He has the upgraded advantage, and bodkin arrow is so huge if your opponent is in the Feudal Age, because you're dealing an additional 1 extra damage versus those skirms. So you have to be so careful. That was a huge mangonel shot. AkeNo is in deep trouble, and another one gets him on the edge, but still some great micro by him. Focus firing down those crossbows is going to dodge that one, and somehow he's surviving despite being at a crippling tech disadvantage. AkeNo survives. He holds on and endures the attack. Meanwhile, here comes some more crossbows by Klavskis and the Siege Workshop. Defensive Siege Workshop, I love this. I love the counterplay that the mangonel provides and the comeback mechanics, and the Madman Eagle Scouts coming in. 2 Pierce Armor. Absolute crap. Big Mangonel shot. Not really. He's making some Eagle Scouts because they're so easy in his economy. It's much easier to actually get the 50 gold out in the early game as opposed to committing to farms. Such an interesting play here, mixing in some of those Eagle Scouts, but really what he needs is a Mangonel right now, and he knows that. He knows that's all he needs is a Mangonel. And it looks like he's actually going to survive. Well played! Welcome to Stream for Bricks. Oh, this is sick. Absolutely sick. AkeNo holds on. He endures the attack. And he's even putting down a defensive town center, protecting his gold, protecting this wood. This palisade wall is going to save him. This is some foresight right here. AkeNo sees into the future. He knew that he would need this watchtower. Because look, he's just stalling. He's just trying to stall so he can get his Mangonel out. And now it's going to come down to good control. May the better player win. The question is, should AkeNo snag some of that hot Bodkin arrow action? Should he do that? I'm feeling the Bodkin arrow. He doesn't want to do it. He has the money, but he didn't want to do it. Now, how good will the control be? 46 population. Let's check the Klavskis. 76. That's not good. So, he needs to defend this like a god. However, Klavskis playing 5D chess. Oh, no! He's going to get picked off by the Eagle Scouts. That was such a good play on Klavskis' part to make 2 Eagle Scouts just to pick off that Mangonel, because he knows how important it is in the dynamic. It's a fairly good Mangonel shot, but damn, those Eagle Scouts paying dividends. Klavskis very, very far ahead, but AkeNo still in this game. He's still in this game because, of course, he can do things like he built that second town center. If he didn't, he'd be totally screwed. He needs to readjust his economy a little bit. I think he has too much food, but that's why you see he has some idle farmers. He barely has any food gatherers at this point. And in fact, AkeNo making another great play. Gonna build a market, so that way he can rebalance his economy, and he's still defending the Mangonel, the ultimate comeback mechanic. He just needs a couple good Mangonel shots to pull himself back in the game. One thing that we have to remember is that the eco difference isn't that big for Klavskis. Like, I believe he only has 2 TCs, yeah. He only has 2 TCs, so it's really not that big. Oh god, no, absolute disaster! No! Ah, minimum range on Mangonel. But AkeNo has the economy to continually pump out Mangonels that just die. So really, again, the eco difference between these two is not that big. AkeNo just needs to even out the military discrepancy, which is astronomical. And how can he do that with our good friend, Mr. Mangonel? Oh, Mr. Mangonel, will he be enough? Comes the third town center. Again, he's not that far behind economically. And that's what matters. If you're super far behind economically, it's very difficult to come back from that. It is. But Mangonels allow you to defend. I think you should even queue up another one, but I wonder if he's considering if that should be like even a 4th town center. Now he's making a Scorpion. The Madman. I love this. I absolutely love this. However, the excited resonance in me loves this, but the more serious tryhard resonance does not. I feel like the Scorpion is so hard countered by Mangonels. That's one of the reasons why it rarely sees play outside of things like Deathmatch. They're actually very good versus elephants. Skeptical of the Scorpion. It is much harder to juke the Scorpion shots, though, and provided he controls this perfectly, he should be in good shape. Notice, however, that pro players also repair their Mangonels a lot. That's very, very important. Saves a lot of value. Wow, that actually sucks, having to deal with these double lions. If they pick up a skirm, I think it's the minimum range, that would... It's really, really interesting to see him... Oh, we did lose the skirm. To see him go offensively here, rather than opt to defend himself with everything. Good rating here by Klavskis, recognizing the way the terrain is set up. He can actually poke this wood line over here outside of the range of that watchtower, thus forcing a lot of idle time, as AkeNo will have to walk the long way to get all of those lumberjacks working in. This is actually horrible for his economy. Yeah, interesting that he's going to go try and do some raiding. I don't think he knows how well walled up Klavskis is, but Klavskis is basically no army at home, so this could end up working out. I don't think that Klavskis would expect someone to walk all the way around. He feels like raiding is a good way to even this game out, and I would agree with that. But it's a big risk for sure, and it's going to come down to how well AkeNo can defend himself at home with his Mangonels, and, well, Klavskis with some excellent, excellent micro. Yeah, so this was for a 4th town center. That's why he was delaying additional Mangonel production. Now he's just massing up Scorpions. Please. Please stop, AkeNo. I can only get so wrecked. Scorpions. Much harder to... So, compared to a Mangonel, they're much harder to micro against. And if you haven't seen my Break the Meta Scorpion Rush video, in which I show you pretty much the optimal use case for Scorpions, then what are you doing? Definitely should watch that now. Break the Meta is in the description below, and hopefully someone will link it in the chat. That match, of course, contains doubt, as all amazing matches do. So why Scorpions and not Mangonels here? It's just much harder to micro against Scorpion shots. They can really catch your opponent by surprise. AkeNo hasn't revealed any Scorpions at all, so he might honestly be able to wipe out like this entire army of crossbows with just a volley of Scorpion shots. Why don't we see Scorpions so often? Also, they're much easier to mass from a resource standpoint. Why don't we see Scorpions so frequently? Well, it's generally because they're just hard countered by Mangonels. And please, for the love of God, don't lose this Mangonel. Don't do it. Don't do it. They're so close to each other, and neither of them know. And the Stonewall's coming down to the 15% discount. God, if AkeNo can just stall. I love the 4th town center thing. He knows that the eco thing is what's really going to lose him this game, is if he falls too far behind economically. He needs to pull back. But Klavskis up in the Imperial Age. No! I don't know how AkeNo is going to win this game now. It's going to take more than Scorpions, because let me guess. Klavskis, is he thinking Eagles? I mean, he could easily just go for, like, Arbalest plus Bracer, and that would be just as good. It's going to basically take the Mangonel shot of the gods here to claw his way back in the game. Will it land? That is the question. He's coming in from the behind. No, not quite. Oh, damn. They came from behind. God, that could have actually won him the game. I need to edit in the Jaws theme in later, and then the video gets muted for copyright infringement. It sucks. Blue balls here. No huge Mangonel shot from AkeNo. That could have won him the game. He's honestly, like, almost completely screwed now. So, his one hope is that this Mangonel somehow dies. Like, I don't know how that's going to happen. Because otherwise, these Scorpions would actually dumpster this army of Arbalest if he pops them out at just the right time. The +2 defense, critical for these Arbalest. He has the hill advantage, so they're going to take 25% less. He's all in Scorpions. Oh, denied! Building site obstructed. I hate that message. Will he? No! Oh, AkeNo distracted right now. Will not be able to finish that stone wall. Popping out the Mangonel. He has the high ground. Is it over for Klavskis? That is the question. If Klavskis makes like 5 Elite Eagle Warriors, this game's over. But he's just going for the Arbalest because he already has that. He's got the Bracer. He's got the chemistry. He's got everything he needs. Okay, so the only way he can lose this game at this point is with an absolutely massive Mangonel shot, and if these Mangonels don't kill all these Scorpions in one shot. Also, Scorpions are hard countered by Bombard Cannons, but those aren't a thing in this game because neither Sith has those. Whew! Alright, we'll see. Come on. I think he's dead. It's going to take a miracle to save him, but... Alright, here comes the Scorpions! And they're just getting sniped, and the reason that they're so much worse now is that Bracer is on the field, and Bracer allows him to get the first shot. Oh my god, absolute disaster. He tried from GG. That would have worked so much better if Klavskis was in the Castle Age. So much better. But alas, Klavskis is in the Imperial Age. He was able to deal extra damage, significantly extra damage, and get the first shot off. And it's really hard to coordinate those slow piles of popsicle sticks. Ay. And that Mangonel there also posed a problem. I loved this game. It wasn't a particularly long game, but I think it was very well played on both sides. Some great decision making from AkeNo and Klavskis, but ultimately, Klavskis getting to the Imperial Age first was decisive, and this army up here didn't really get any usage out of it. Yeah, Klavskis wins the game, and not a single elite Eagle Warrior in sight. Nor any Chemiacs nor Slingers, nor any Men-at-Arms Tower Rushes. But I did see a couple Eagle Scouts coming into play. I mean, there were a lot of decisive moments here. Obviously, the thing that won the game ultimately was Klavskis able to get to the Imperial Age first. And then also another decisive moment was when Klavskis sent in 2 Eagle Scouts to pick off that Mangonel. That was also huge. So, great play on his part. And AkeNo canceling his Castle Age to actually go for a prolonged feudal fight probably kept him in the game for an additional 20 minutes. An amazing play. Overall, super entertaining to watch. And thank you so much, Klavskis and AkeNo, for joining us today for this little show match. Hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. I might do another one with them in the future, but I think I should do some community games today too. For those of us who are watching live, I think it makes sense to do some community games, but I'm down for a Klavskis versus AkeNo rematch in the future, something like that. I'm not going to do show matches too often, but I think that this was a fun one regardless. GG. Rip Scorpions, man. It was a very, very good game here on both sides of it. A lot of back and forth. I mean, AkeNo was able to keep himself in the game because really the eco discrepancy was not that large. He was only behind by 10 villagers. He had an insurmountable military deficit that he tried, and the way that you pull yourself back into a game is by doing what Akeno did, which was make sure that you keep up as much as you can with the economy, which he did, and then try and leverage counter units or units with like a heavy area of effect ability to trade efficiently with your opponent. If he was mirroring Klavskis with crossbows, then he would have been completely screwed, because there's no way he could have kept up with the production. He was just permanently behind by like 20 expos. So what you want to do is either make something, you make units that trade 2 for 1 ideally, not 1 for 1. So this could be elite skirms, this could be mangonels, this could be scorpions. And in this case, he went for more of the mangonel scorpion route, and I think that makes more sense because the elite skirmishers and whatnot would be more taxing in his economy, and because they cost food, it's like 25 food a pop, which would mean that he has fewer villagers and could potentially fall further behind, and would also leave him very vulnerable to things like mangonels, and is super vulnerable to things like eagle warriors as well. So I like AkeNo's decision making here. It just didn't work out because Klavskis got to the Imperial Age first and was thus able to decimate those poor scorpions. Would have worked out a lot better if Klavskis was still in the Castle Age, but alas, was not. Goths versus Antarcticans matchup. As soon as they add that to the game. Yes. Oh, GG, well played. Thank you so much for the support as always, guys. Really appreciate it, especially for the content that I do for games beyond just Age of Empires 2. It would mean the world to me if you guys check out Episode 5 for Heroes with Friends, which if you're watching live will be posted in like 2 weeks. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's already uploaded. Please do check out that other content. It really helps longevity of the channel, exposes players from a wide variety of other game communities to Age of Empires 2. So you're helping the Age of Empires 2 community, you're helping me, and hopefully you find that stuff entertaining. We'll be right back in a couple minutes with the next match of the live stream. Stay tuned, don't go anywhere. More Age of Empires on the way, and thank you, Tech, for subscribing as well. Yeah, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.